All right. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to play the music, read the intro, and we'll get started. Sounds good?
Yeah.
All right. What is up, guys? Nasir here, and welcome to the KharmaKast, a podcast where I just kick back, chill out, and have a relaxed conversation with people I admire. Today we're joined by Faye Bate, a fellow medical student here in the United Kingdom. She's recently seen her YouTube channel absolutely blow up, just crossing 50,000 subscribers, as she documents her life in and outside of medical school, unapologetically being herself. Faye, welcome to the KharmaKast.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, I know you're studying for an exam at the moment, so I appreciate you taking the time, and yeah, I hope you enjoy. So Faye, I'm subscribed to your channel. I watch all your videos since I discovered you, and recently you posted a video that just blew me away, and it definitely has to be the first thing that I want to talk to you about, which is the video you recently posted titled, "I studied 100 hours in 1 week." Just talk to me about how in the world you did that. How did you manage that?
So I kind of saw it was like MD Prospect. He did a video where he studied 100 hours in 1 week. And I saw that, and I feel like the competitive medic deep down inside of me was like, I want to see if I'm actually capable of that. Mm-hmm. And also, so when I was on my gap year, I used to work as a carer. And when I was working as a carer, I used to start work at 7 and finish work at 10. So it was roughly about 15-hour days. Okay. So I was kind of thinking in my head, I was like, oh, it's just, that would be kind of 15-hour days. Mm-hmm. And also because we're not in uni, I was thinking to myself, this is the only time that I'm not going to, I'm going to be in the flat and I'm probably going to be able to do it. And I was trying to pick a good week where I didn't have any sort of plans or it wasn't, even a Zoom thing or anything. Mm-hmm, because the thing is, when you do 100 hours, there is literally no room for anything else.
Yep.
Yeah, so I had to pick a good week, and then it was just coming up to 1 week, and I was like, I haven't got anything planned. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to do it. And it was horrific.
I can imagine. I mean, 100 hours is insane. How many hours does that work out to per day? 13, 14, something like that?
14.2.
14.2.
Yeah. I mean, so I tried to do 15. I did 15 hours every day except Sunday when I did 6, because on a Sunday is when I upload. So I normally like to do live chat. Okay. So I wanted to get it all done on the Sunday so I could finish a little bit early. Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, even on my peak of studying for the Step 1 exam over the summer, I was doing 10 hours a day. And I really felt like every moment of my life had been taken from me and dedicated towards the books, besides cooking breakfast, cooking lunch, cooking dinner. And it definitely took a toll on my mental health at the time, especially because it was for a prolonged period of time. So how did you sort of keep your mental health in check and make sure you were okay throughout that experience?
Probably by remembering, I think it's probably about remembering that it's going to be over. I think there is no way anyone could do that long term. I had a couple of people comment on the video saying, what? This is hard. I do this every week. And I was like, no way do you do this every week.
I get that well on my channel. When I post a 10-hour study with me or something, people will comment, why is this novel? I do this literally every day. Or people haven't met, X, Y, or Z student who's studying, I don't know what, that requires them to do that much studying. I get that as well. God. It's wild. You can't do that. Who does that?
And do you know what? Because a lot of people were kind of commenting on the video, kind of saying how bad it is. And I was saying, do you know what? The thing is, some people are just built that way. Some people are built where that is their sole passion, and that is what they want to spend their time doing. And fair enough, as long as it's not impacting you negatively and you don't feel that pressure to do that, I think that's fine. If someone wants to spend 15 hours a day studying, it's not for me. But that is how they choose to spend their time, as long as they're okay.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that if people want to spend their time studying or if they enjoy studying, like that's obviously fine. I'm always someone who said, you know, right off the bat, I genuinely enjoy studying. I genuinely enjoy learning. But, you know, you need to have some sort of balance, and you need to have other things in your life that make you very happy, that you spend your time doing, so that whatever it is you're doing, you're not focusing on any one thing. Any one thing is the worst way to consume yourself, you know? And I had a bit of a wake-up call, because when I first discovered your channel and your videos, I think it was a video titled "But Balance at Medical School," or how to have balance at medical school, something like that. I was looking it up earlier. It has like 400,000 views, which, congrats, by the way. It's like big video. And so, yeah, I commented something like, Faye, love the editing in this video. It was really, really good. Balance at medical school is key. And I checked in the next day to see, like, had you seen the comment? Had people replied? Because, you know, I love this YouTube community. I love following up on things like that.
Yeah.
And I just saw a string of comments replying to my comment saying, what is this guy saying talking about balance in medical school? This guy studies all day, every day. He studies 10 hours at a time. He doesn't have any balance. What is he saying? What is he talking about? And it kind of hit me that, like, that's the impression that people have of me online and on the internet. And fair enough. Like, I'm not saying that I haven't put that out there. I definitely have. But that's kind of not who I am at all. You know, like, I love studying. I enjoy learning. And I have absolutely no problem doing these 10-hour sessions when they're needed, when I have big exams coming up or whatever. But I definitely think of myself as a very balanced person. I have a lot of things that I'm doing outside of medical school. I love going out. I love having fun. I love seeing my friends. If I don't talk to someone for a day, I explode internally, you know, if I don't leave the house and go outside. So I found it was a bit of a wake-up call, like this difference between what people can think of you when you're online versus, you know, how you are, even if you try and be as honest and transparent as you can be. So yeah, sorry, this was a bit of a ramble. What I was coming to is asking you, have you ever experienced something like that where someone thinks something of you that you're not in this sort of online space through videos or anything like that?
Well, it's really interesting that you should bring up that comment specifically, because I remember reading that comment as well and thinking to myself, I was like, that's really interesting that they should comment that, because they haven't seen me when it's exam season and I am exactly the same. And I think that's what's so interesting about what you put yourself out on the internet, is that is a tiny snapshot. That is a tiny snapshot of your life, and that doesn't give anyone a clear picture of who you are. Because I was thinking to myself, I was like, God, to be in a position like to be at medical school, you have to study. And just because I show 1 week where it's very balanced and it's nowhere near exams, and balance is important when it's near exams as well. Yeah, but also there's a big difference between my life then and like my life even now when I'm trying to study and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, like, I think comments online are a weird one, because also on the same video, there will be all these comments being like, my favorite, well, not my favorite one, my least favorite one. Yeah. You always put, I study 12 hours a day for my patients. And I'm like, but like, that's to have a doctor who isn't, if you burn out, you're not going to be helping anyone. Yeah. So like, but it's interesting that on the same thing, on the same video or on two different videos, there'll be people who are saying that I'm not studying hard enough, and then there'll be people who are saying, I don't know, that yeah. And I just think you can't think about what everyone's going to have an opinion. You can't let it get to you.
Absolutely. It's really impossible to please anyone, even like a large portion or percentage of your audience. You'll always find people who are upset about something or another. And something that immediately comes to mind for me is when I made a video about washing my hands during the coronavirus pandemic and how to properly wash your hands. And the entire comment section was filled with people addressing in a not so nice way the fact that I left the tap running throughout that video, because, you know, once you've opened the tap, you don't touch it again because you don't want to contaminate your hands until you're done with washing your hands, and then you close it with your elbow. And, you know, everyone was just really, really mad about that. And that's something that I couldn't even have thought would be an issue when uploading that video. So yeah, the comments, like you said, it's a difficult one, and you can't really take anything too seriously. How do you deal with that yourself when you get comments that are a bit critical or are a bit not so nice, let's say?
It's really hard, because I think they definitely, especially initially when my channel started to get like experience growth, they really, really, really used to get to me. And it's really just important to remember where these opinions are coming from. Like, I think if one of my friends gives me constructive criticism, or someone I admire gives me constructive criticism, then that's coming from a place of like care and wanting me to do well, and it's coming from a different place than someone on the internet who I have no idea what their background is, what their accreditations are. It's my favorite ones are the ones where I read them and I'm like, you've clearly never stepped foot in a medical school or a hospital. Like, who are you to criticize me? And then it just comes back to that. It's like you don't know who's on the other end. But it is hard because I think on YouTube especially, you're putting yourself out there so much more than any other social media. And people can be very like specific with their attacks. And
very opinionated.
You put,
generally.
and you give so much of yourself to it. You are like quite vulnerable.
Yeah. You know, that vulnerability that you mentioned now is something that I think about more and more like these days, and certainly like in the last months, I guess. You know, like our channels both have like quite a decent size and have reached a point where, you know, you might get recognized walking around in a hospital or on the street or at university or whatever. And that vulnerability is very real. It's something I'm extremely conscious about. Like when I walk past someone and they look at me in a certain way, or somehow there's some interaction there, and I'm like, I know that this person watches my videos, right? I'm immediately in an extremely vulnerable position, I feel. You know, this person knows so much about me. They know what I like, what I dislike, what I do on my weekends, what I don't, you know, probably why I'm here today on this specific day on campus or in the hospital or whatever. And I know almost nothing about them. And I feel like that, I don't know their intentions. Do they like what I do? Do they not like what I do? Do they think I'm an evil person? Do they think I'm a good person? And it's scary. These are scary things to experience, you know? And we are vulnerable. We are really vulnerable. Is there something that you do that helps you manage that? Or is it something you don't think about? Is it just part of the process? You get on with your day? How is that for you?
I think for me personally, and I feel like everyone would be different, but for me, I try not to think about it at all, because I think once you get down into that spiral and you start thinking deep in everything, it's very scary. And you think, even, you know, obviously I watch the videos that I put up like a zillion times before they go up because of like how long editing takes. But then even when you're like, oh, I've watched all your videos, in my head I'm like, oh my God, like what would he have thought of this one? What would he have thought of this one? And you think, even when people, so say there's one of my lecturers, and he's like, he's got my notifications on, he comments on all my videos, and he like, he says to everyone, he's like, I really enjoy Faye's videos, they're really helpful, they're really educational, like he loves them. But then it's still like, even though I've watched all these videos a million times, I'm clearly comfortable with what I'm putting out there.
Yeah.
That spiral of, oh my God, who else has seen it? What if this person's seen it? And again, it's just that thinking about other people's opinions. But, you know, you only get one life. You don't want to, like, you want to put your out as much as you're comfortable, you know, put yourself out there.
Yeah, I
that
think
didn't make any sense.
No, it did. It definitely made sense. And what really stuck with me with what you just said now is that you put yourself out there, that you are comfortable with what you're putting out there. If you yourself know and feel that you're putting out something that is positive, that should hopefully help someone or provide value to somebody else, you know, we're not out here making videos, calling people out, starting some drama or like sharing DMs and screenshots and this or that. Like, I like to think that we're on the opposite spectrum of that type of like content that's being produced online. And so as long as we're comfortable with what we're putting out, and sort of we can stand up with our like head held high and say, you know, this is why I did it and this is why I think it's a good thing, then it's hard for us to feel bad about comments or criticisms or anything like that. But it's funny you mentioned the professor who says, oh, I like your videos, this and that, because I've had some similar experiences as well. And I find it, I don't know if embarrassing is the right word, but like I really feel on the spot in that scenario, you know? I really feel on the spot. Yeah, how
I
is
think
it
it's because it's from an older generation. I think generally when you picture the people who are watching your videos, you picture people who are similar to you, when in actual fact, you know, it could be anyone, absolutely anyone, who's on YouTube. And that's what I think gets me, is I'm like, he's the middle-aged, one of my favourite lecturers, always has been. He's a middle-aged consultant doctor who's watching my videos. And I'm like, oh my God, there are other potential middle-aged consultant doctors who are also watching my videos.
Yeah. Have you gotten messages or emails or anything from like mothers of students?
Oh my gosh, yes. But from because I think parents who are so invested in their kids, like getting into medical school and becoming doctors.
Yeah.
Oh, they're really sweet.
It's the cutest thing. Yeah. They're always really kind, and it's almost like they're giving off a motherly vibe to us as well. You know, they're like taking us under the wing and saying like, oh, thanks so much. We really enjoy watching the videos together or something like that. And it's just it's so heartwarming, you know. What more could you ask for? What more of like an impact could you ask for from putting your videos out there?
Yeah, definitely. Do you go through your requests?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
that was my favorite thing to do ever.
Like Instagram requests, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
I mean, I always remember it. It was as soon as I hit 200,000 subscribers, I told myself, Nasir, you have to take a step back from reading your DMs and your emails, because up until then, I responded to every single one, every DM, every comment, every email, every comment on my pictures that I posted on Instagram, like literally everything. There wasn't a single one left unturned. But at the point where I was reaching 200,000 subscribers, I was spending something like 2 or 3 hours in my day just doing that. And I loved it. It was honestly really, really fun, you know, interacting with people from all over the world and you know, chatting with them. But there comes a point where it's like, maybe I'm spending too much time. And obviously there's a lot of other things that need to get done in the day. So yeah, I used to go through absolutely everything, and I've had to cut that down. But Instagram DMs are a funny one. What's the strangest thing that you've been sent, or anything? That's, like, really
I feel like it's a bit of a common one as a girl. It's like feet pics, sugar baby. Those are probably. There's one guy who he just always used to send me selfies and be like, "Please marry me," and I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah, marriage proposals. I've gotten quite a few of those with like catalogs of like photos and like CVs and things like that. Yeah, it's mad.
PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, like literally everything. That, and then the strangest one for me has to be someone who asked for my dirty socks, and yeah, and they were very serious in their request. I didn't even open that DM because, you know, I don't want to open that can of worms. I'm just gonna leave it where it is. But yeah, they were a bit persistent, you know, sent a couple messages over a few days and things like that. And I was just like, this is one I'm not going to open, you know, I'm going to just leave that over there. It was
they knew what they wanted.
Yeah. Shoot your shot, I guess. You've got nothing to lose. Well, kind of, maybe. Anyways,
your dignity.
Yeah. Well, I guess, yeah. If that's something that you're not comfortable with or not happy sharing, maybe you're proud of it. That's okay too, I guess. Everyone has their own things that they're interested in. But anyways, moving on from these sort of doom and gloom topics, you know, anxieties and pressures and being vulnerable and things like that. I want to talk to you a bit about, in this intro, I said that you talk about your life in and outside of medical school while unapologetically being yourself. And I think that description fits you quite well. And, you know, I feel like if I was to meet you in person, and certainly in the conversation that we had before we hit record for this podcast, you know, I felt like you were a literal copy of what I've seen in your videos, which is like really wonderful. It's really, that's kind of how I would hope all the creators that I watch are.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wanted to ask you, like, is that something that you found with other people? Is that something you value in other people?
Yeah, oh my God, 100%. Because but the thing is, I haven't been really in this sphere for that long, and I guess the majority of the time that I've been in this like medic social media like community, it's been COVID, so I haven't really got to like meet up with, and it's so incredible. Like I think making these connections is been my favourite thing, like bar none of this whole journey. But what I would say about I think being like a medic on social media is obviously there's there is like this idea of who there is kind of like a stereotype of like a medic on social media, I feel. And I think probably I have met a couple of other medic YouTubers when COVID was kind of like easing off a little bit. And we got to do a couple of like videos when it was like allowed. And I met up with the girls from Journey to Med. And I think you've watched their videos.
Yeah.
So they are the two most incredible, bubbly, gorgeous girls. And I have a group chat with them. I speak to them nearly every day. But when I did my collab with them, they like said, they were like, Faye, the way that you are has kind of made us realize like we can like kind of show our personality a bit more. Because when I met them, they were so bubbly, and I was like, oh my god, like it doesn't come across as much on like your channel or whatever.
I see. Yeah.
And now like their videos, like I think they've really come out their shell, and they're exactly the same as what they are on their videos, which is like lovely. Yeah.
Nice. You know, I originally thought that I was the one breaking those stereotypes of a medical student by showing that you could have a life and go out and have fun and also study and things like that. And I feel like when I saw your video, you were like taking it to the next level. In a very positive way, you know. I mean, from my perspective, you know, if you're doing well in school, you're happy with your grades, you're studying hard, yada yada yada, whatever you do in your spare time, it's up to you. You know, if you want to make YouTube videos, make YouTube videos. If you want to go out, whatever it is that you want to do. For me, I am quite conscious of what I put out online because, like you said, you know, medics and doctors are held to a higher standard in society. Even if I don't necessarily think that's how it should be forever, I do recognize that right now, in our current time that we're living in, whatever, doctors and medical students are certainly held to a higher standard. They're expected to behave a certain way and not do all these crazy, outrageous things. And I am very cognizant of that. And that is reflective in what I choose to put online. And, you know, what opinions I choose to share online, things that I choose to talk about, because it's scary to face backlash in the public space. And it's something that kind of does worry me and is always in the back of my head. Is that something you experience at all?
Oh, absolutely. Because I think with something like medicine, you work so hard to get to this place, and then to think that maybe sharing an opinion could, you know, potentially take that away from you, or behave in a certain way could potentially take that away from you. I definitely think that, and it comes back to kind of what we were saying before about everything, as long as you can like back it up and you know that it aligns with your values, and you know how you would kind of like you would justify it. But it definitely plays on my mind a lot. And I think again, there are unrealistic standards that doctors and medical students have put up again, but then at the same time, it is like people need to trust you with their like life. Oh,
the camera needs to restart.
Yeah.
All right.
People need to trust you with their life. So like, I do understand why there is a higher standard.
Yeah, absolutely.
In some respects.
Absolutely. I was talking to my friend about this, I think 2 days ago, and he said the whole profession of doctors and medics works upon the fact that we trust in what they're doing. And if you don't have that trust, then there is no profession, because it really is one of those things, medicine, where the general population really doesn't know too much about being able to make their own decisions about it. That came out a bit wrong. I think that especially now, like, patients are coming in more informed than ever with things that they've read online, with things that they want to do regarding their health, and, you know, how patient-centered our care is now. But yeah, like I said, it's one of those professions that unless you go out there and study about it or read up on it, you won't just know it through your like general life-to-life interactions, like you might know about, I don't know, economics or a bit of law or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. I ran into a brick wall and I was like, where
you were saying about like trust, because it's not as well. The thing is, we spend 5 years learning how to do this. Of course, someone's not going to walk in off the street and be like, or read one book and then have like a good understanding of something. So yeah, the whole thing about trust, and patience. You're putting yourself in a vulnerable position when you're trusting someone with anything, let alone like your body.
Yeah, definitely. And that trust I feel like can so easily be lost. If for example, last summer I did an interview with the Sunday Times here in the UK. And it was just about like me as a medical student, why I have my online platform, what I do with it, and sort of just me, I guess. And the comments underneath that article, I don't know if you've seen them or not, but the comments underneath that article were just horrendous. It was from people from like an older generation, let's say. I'm completely guessing, but let's say in the 40s to 60s age range. And yeah, it was just people saying like, these people shouldn't have licenses to practice. These guys are just internet and fame hungry. And, this is absolutely disrespectful and all these types of things, which I think would be quite rare in sort of the newer generations that we are in now, but certainly is quite prominent in the older generations.
Yeah.
And that's really scary. When I walk into a room to go talk to a patient, what if they know about my videos and they think that what I'm doing is absolute crap and they're not happy with it at all? It's very possible. And it's just in the back of your head, I guess.
Yeah, it's scary, but it's also like very sad, like, because I think, so, look at people say like the food medic who has got a whole generation of people who follow her who are making like really nutritious meals, like inspiring all these people, teaching them how to make healthy food like really easily, or it's like you guys, so like you or Ali, I would say revolutionize the way like I study, the way that I organize myself. And I think the power of social media is so huge. Like huge, absolutely huge. And being a person, say, with the knowledge that you do as like a doctor and having a social media platform could benefit so many people. And like my mum is like comes from like my mum's like a nurse, but she's a public health nurse.
Okay.
So I've always heard like growing up, prevention is better than cure. That's just been like drilled into me. And she's a very healthy person, very health conscious. And I just think for me, where I see myself in 10 years time, even when I'm like qualified and like I am actually able to like give advice or whatever, I just see having a social media platform as being a way to make people healthier, make people more aware of their health. And that's so powerful. But then even to an extent, when it's not to do with health, when it's to do with productivity, when it's to do with studying, you guys are like, you yourself and Ali have made my life a zillion times easier. And I think that's like what, and I get as someone from the older generation, it's scary, it's new. When a change happens in my life, you initially
everything gets flipped upside down.
Yeah, and I get that. I so get that, but I think it's important to recognize also the incredible benefits that can happen from having like a platform.
Yeah, I completely agree. I really like to think that everything we're doing is very positive and is helping people in one way or another. And if somebody thinks that it's not, or has an opinion that goes in the complete opposite direction of that, I'm just like, okay, fair enough. You're entitled to that opinion. But like, I feel justified enough to continue doing what it is that I'm doing and, sharing all of this about my life.
Again, I think it comes back to if it aligns with your like value set, and you're comfortable with everything, you're doing.
Speaking of being comfortable, do you feel comfortable knowing that you might end up practicing for the rest of your life in the UK? Is that something that you want to do? I know you've mentioned in a couple of videos that, well, I don't know if you've mentioned it, but I've seen a USMLE Step 1 book laying around in the background or something. Do you have any plans of staying in the UK, moving abroad, anything like that?
So I have always been someone with very itchy feet. I think it's always been in my head, like I want to travel, especially when I'm young and I don't have roots, like, and no, I don't have responsibilities. And obviously you have to work to fund these things. So I think it's really interesting because I mentioned, so reverse. Obviously,
I
working
have
in
a
the
sound
US
for that.
is... Oh!
Yeah, sorry, go on. Reverse?
Yeah, the
Working in
US is an option.
Mm.
And I think as someone who... I speak Welsh.
Okay.
That's the only language I speak, so... and English, obviously.
Yeah.
So my options are very limited in terms of where I can work. And
Okay.
I guess I could learn another language, but, you know, there's great options. Australia, America, Canada.
The dream.
And I think the US was something that was definitely like on my radar. And myself and my flatmate were really keen on sitting the USMLE this summer.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my plan. And then, because I don't know if you know about the medical school that I'm at. So basically, the medical school that I'm at, I am the first year of this medical school. So
really?
A couple of years ago, yeah.
As in, there was no medical school last year at your university?
Yeah, so there's no year above me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are like the actual guinea pigs, like the first ever, everything's being tested on you. Wow, okay.
So it's the same curriculum as Dundee Medical School.
Okay.
So it's, and if like so Dundee's like our parent medical school.
Okay.
But essentially that means that until we graduate, I can't get registered for the number that you have to do.
The
you know when you sign up to do the USMLE, there's like so we can't do that until we graduate, which is really annoying because I know so we're trying to fight it because obviously Dundee's are like if everything goes tits up if everything goes bottoms
that's completely
up
fine, I've got a sound for that
which it won't because we have a lot of the GMC like come to our medical school like quite regularly to check that everything's going okay. But if everything did not go as planned, then we would get our degree from Dundee, provided we pass all our exams and stuff. So we're kind of arguing why can't we just do it under Dundee? But that's a whole load of bureaucracy.
That's
whatever.
a whole other thing,
So and then Australia is an option. I think definitely. But how was your experience doing the USMLE?
Need to take. I always take a deep breath, honestly, when someone asks me questions about step one.
Yeah,
it really is a brutal exam, and I think like anyone who writes it needs to know exactly what they're coming up against so that they can prepare properly and like not be surprised when they realize how crazy of an exam it is. It's one of those things where it just needs time and like you can't cram for it. You can't just like do it in one go. I mean, you can maybe, but it'll be really, really difficult. And I always say to anyone who's thinking of writing it, like prep for it and like work on it for like over a year for sure. Like really just take your time doing a little bit every day because it is really huge and it takes a massive toll on like your life, your mental health and everything. If you want to move to the States, obviously you need to do it. And for me, it was more just to keep my doors open. Should I want to move to the United States in the future? I was considering it probably more strongly before I wrote the exam, and then like as time passed and I asked more people more questions and I do more research. For now, it's like a door that I can go down in the future. But yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know. Did you open the book? Did you look at questions or anything like that?
I started reading the book because the plan was like our end of year summative, the ones that count, are in March, and then we are on placement for the rest of up until summer. So I was thinking, that's a great time. Everything will be fresh in my mind, like all the stuff that I've learned will be fresh in my mind from March. I'll build upon it whilst I'm in placement, and then when I finish placement, I'll just really, really, really work hard at it over summer. And then it was fairly early on in this year that we basically got told that it probably won't be happening this year. So I didn't really go too deeply. I didn't really read the book too much.
No, fair enough.
I looked into what the really good resources were. One of the good things that I did actually gain from it, and I think you're signed up with Liberty, aren't you? Yeah, because I watched all those videos, and then And it was when Shireen was talking about Sketchy.
Okay.
No?
Yeah,
it's
Sketchy
like
Medical.
a resource. Yeah. And
Excuse
I
me?
got Sketchy.
I love Sketchy.
I love Sketchy. But that was the best thing that came out of it.
Yeah.
Wait, what did you just say?
No, you were like, do you know Sketchy? And I'm like, hello, excuse me. I've memorized those sketches back to front. I love Sketchy. I think they're incredible.
There was a look of blankness over your face. I was like...
No, Sketchy is a GOAT resource. I mean, even for medical students not studying for step 1, genuinely, the only reason I know anything about pharmacology and I can answer those questions on our tests in medical school is because of Sketchy. Same with microbiome. I mean, literally everything. It's a lifesaver.
But this is the thing. I said to everyone when I was like, okay, this is for the USMLE, but I was like, everyone needs to get on board with it. And I don't know if you use Osmosis, but I feel like Osmosis tried to do like their own kind of version. And I was like, guys, like,
have you seen
this
Sketchy?
is not... Yeah.
I haven't seen their images that you memorize type of videos, but I've used Osmosis videos for learning general pathology and stuff. I find them quite useful.
The general one, it's only recently I've noticed it on a couple of their recent ones. At the end, they'll kind of like do these cartoons that are very Sketchy-esque, and I'm like, not on the same level.
I see.
Honey.
What have you started with out of interest in Sketchy? Like microbiology, pharmacology?
So I did all of micro.
Nice.
And then I kind of, you love Pastmed as well. I love Pastmed. And I would, when I was revising for my mock, for the mock that we just did, every time I got a question wrong, I'd watch the path, like if it was path related, I'd watch the path Sketchy for it.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. That's good, actually. Is that generally how you organize your studying? Like you do questions, if you get something wrong, you go read around that topic?
So I've had a lot of trial and error with how I've been studying. And I kind of think, so in first year, I was very much a flashcards girl, loved a flashcard, and it actually really paid off. And I kind of like learned my flashcards back to front, and then I went into Pastmed. And then would if I got something wrong, I'd either go to a video or I'd try redo my flashcards or add some extra flashcards if it was something that I'd missed out. Then second year was a very different story. And I think that's mainly because in second year I started my YouTube channel and I had a lot less time. And I thought to myself, I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to... So 2 massive things changed. I stopped making notes. I just made flashcards. What I did in first year was I'd make my notes, and then from my notes in the evening time, I'd make my flashcards. Second year, I was like, I'm not making notes. I don't have time to be doing that anymore. And just made flashcards straight from the lectures. And then in third year, this year, I have completely scrapped flashcards and lectures, and I was just doing past med questions. That was a big mistake. I don't know how I thought I was intelligent enough to get away with that.
Okay.
And then now I've gone back for revising for this exam, flashcards past med. That was very long-winded.
No, not at all. I mean, it's interesting you say that it was a really bad idea to just do past med, because that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I just go through past med questions, and then I copy paste all the info that's there. I paste it into Notion, and then I highlight certain things, or I re-summarize the most important parts or things that I think are really important. And I think it's working well, but I'm trying to move away from that time where I would just sit there and write notes endlessly, because it would just take so long. I would never look at those notes again. They would get deeply categorized somewhere into my notability or whatever. And even though I think it is probably a good way to learn, it kind of forces me to just learn by memorization as opposed to learn by actually learning. Whereas doing questions really focuses me to learn what it is I'm doing and think through the question in a smarter way than just, memorizing the sentence or whatever. But yeah, flashcards is something I've never really been able to get myself into. Do you swear by them?
Really? I think you must be the only med YouTuber who isn't a flashcard guy.
Everyone is like, flashcards is the way to go. Active recall, spaced repetition. Yeah.
Do you know what? You're actually the person who got me off Pomodoro, and I have not looked back since. I can't remember which video it was that I watched, and you were just like, I do things in however many hour chunks, and I was like, God, that goes against everything I've ever heard about Pomodoro. and then I did it, and now I set my forests to 2-3 hours.
Yeah, nice.
And I just think it just reinforces this whole thing. Is like, everyone's different. Like, you can say spaced repetition, active recall, Pomodoro, but like, you also have to allow for your own, who you are personally. I know for a fact when I was doing like Pomodoro, there is no way that I was sticking to a 5-minute break. Like, I'd be like, 5-minute break, 2 hours later after a half an hour nap, I'd be like, this isn't working.
Yeah, I feel like Pomodoro just promotes people to get distracted and out of the zone from the work that they were currently in. And I think most people are more than capable of working for longer than 25 minutes if they just like really try and like push themselves to do it. Like, throw your phone in another room or like lock it in a cupboard or something like that.
Yeah,
I think most people are capable of doing that, but Pomodoro is kind of like, it entices you. It's like, just work 25 minutes and then you can be on your phone, you know? So it's kind of like a carrot at the end of the stick that you're constantly working towards.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I don't know. I put the Pomodoro timers in my videos because a lot of people find intense value from them. And like you said, if that works for you, that works for you. It personally doesn't work for me. And, you know, I've been at university now for 8 years, which I said in a previous video, and I was like, oh my God, I've been at university for 8 years. And even saying it now, it sounds absolutely crazy. But during that time, I mean, I've changed my studying techniques and my studying habits so much. And, you know, I literally just changed it again. So who knows? It really is like what's working for you and what's working for you at that time. Everyone's completely different. Everyone thinks differently, remembers differently. So yeah, don't watch my videos or anyone else's videos and think you have to study like that. Like, if you think it's interesting, try it out. If it doesn't work, just go back to what you were doing, you know? It's completely fine.
I had a question on one of my Q&As, and it was like, you look down on people who don't do your like no-note method of studying. And I was like,
is that an assumption?
No, like, it was just like a Q&A, but someone said it and I thought it was really like interesting to talk about, because I was like, not at all. But I know for a fact when I first started medical school, I was so like overwhelmed by all this information, and I had no idea where to start and how to break it down. And I think just the more methods that you learn about, the more methods that you hear about, the more chance that you're going to find something that works for you. So yeah, like,
absolutely,
you do you, boo.
Yeah. Are you a graduate student, Faye?
No, so
you went straight from high school.
Yeah, well, yeah, I had a fun journey to medical school.
All right, do tell.
Yeah, so there's not really much of a story, just that basically, because I'm not really sure what like the Canadian system is, and I'm sure it'll be pretty similar. But for us, you have to get your 3 A's in biology, chemistry, and maths. And,
I went to a British school. I went to a British school in Greece. I did the IB.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with A levels and everything.
Oh, sick. So yeah, I just did not do great in my A levels. I didn't get my 3 A's, and then I had to resit my A levels to get my 3 A's. So I took a gap year and then went to medical school. Fair
enough. I mean, fairly similar story here. I thought I did really well in my IB, but evidently not well enough to get accepted to medical school. So I sort of did my plan B, which was to go do an undergraduate degree in Canada and then reapply for medical school again. You know, I find a lot of the people who are medic YouTubers or post about their like journey to medical school. A lot of them have had not a straightforward direct path into medical school. And, you know, I think that's obviously completely fine. The thing is, at the time when you're going through it, it is like the end of the world and you are completely crushed. And I was completely crushed when I didn't get into medical school the first time. It's hard to sort of see the light during that time. But yeah, a lot of people get through it. If it's something you want to do, if it's something you really care about, just keep going. There's a million success stories like all around us as proof of that.
People always ask me that. They like say I'll get a message because I did a video about like my journey with rejection and not getting my A levels and whatever. So I get a lot of messages from people saying things like do you reckon I'll be able to cope? And I just kind of say, if anything for me personally, I knew that when I got to medical school, like I valued my place so much more than if it had come easily to me. And I was like, I almost work harder because of that. And I have learned so much from that experience. I think everyone who does well academically has a point when they realize that just being smart isn't enough. And I think obviously mine came when I was GCSEs, I was having the time of my life. I was thinking, God, Faye, you can get away with anything. And then I started my A-levels and I realized, no, oh my God, you actually have to study. You're not just going to get 3 A's. And then obviously in medical school, I knew that hard work was necessary. But then I think you see people who maybe haven't experienced that, and they got their 3 A's fairly easily. And then they get to medical school and then they're like, oh wait, I can't just get a medical degree without doing any work. So I think it was a really, really, really like beneficial experience.
I'll always say the best thing that happened to me was that I went to Canada and I did that undergraduate degree. It was a life-changing experience, and like I grew so much as a person. I matured so much as a person that I simply would not have if I just went straight to medical school here in the UK. And I would have been so young, I feel. I would have been a doctor at 22, I think 23, something like that. And I don't think I would have been ready. I wouldn't have like had enough fun and just like, I mean, I think it's a lot of responsibility to be an F1 doctor at 23. Like that's kind of mad to me in my head, Are you kind of on that path? Not to like scare you.
I think
you're 24
emotionally as well. That's a lot to deal with. Sorry, I think I just cut you off. What did you just say?
No, I was saying, are you on the path to being an F1 at around 23 years old?
No, so I'm 22 at the moment. 23. I'll start year 4 at 23. So I'll be my mess. Oh my God. I'll start 4th year and I'll be 23. I'll start 5th year and I'll be 24. So I'll be an F1 of 24. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Close enough, I guess. Close enough. Cool. Faye, I saw something quite interesting 2 days ago on placement, and it like brought up this like big philosophical question for me that I wanted to talk to you about in this podcast.
Ooh.
Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. And for everyone listening, I would be very, very interested to hear your opinions in the comments down below on the following. So here's the scenario. I was watching open heart surgery in theaters. It was a CABG, so coronary artery bypass graft, for anyone not absolutely in love with medicine and knows what that is. Anyways, the point is that this patient was undergoing surgery and they were anesthetized and paralyzed, so they were asleep and not able to move. They had a tube going down their throats that they could be ventilated, right? So the patient was not breathing for themselves, they were being ventilated, which is fairly standard for any surgery, right? And then during the procedure, the patient's blood was removed from their heart and put into a bypass machine, okay? So that this machine can oxygenate the blood and then put it back into the patient. Okay, so all the patient's blood is leaving their body, going through this machine, and then coming back into their body. And then, at some point in the procedure, when the surgeons needed to work on the heart to cannulate the aorta and the right atrium, they injected a solution that's full of potassium to stop the heart. Okay, so at this point, I was sitting there and I was looking at this patient laying on a table. He's not breathing for himself because the ventilator is breathing for him. The heart is not pumping, okay? And his blood is half inside his body and half outside in this machine, which for anyone listening, this is like completely standard. Like this is how the surgery is done, whatever. So I was looking at this thinking, what makes this person alive at this point in time? Their heart's not beating, their lungs aren't breathing, and their blood is half in their body, half not. Is this patient alive? What do you think? What do you think?
Oh my God. Wow. It's a Friday evening. I was going to say something like a little bit sciencey, and I was like, I don't want to be wrong. Oh my God.
It just blew my mind a little bit. it blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of blown my mind as well, I'm not gonna lie. Would it be kind of one of them situations where it's like, unless they're warm and dead, they're not dead? So unless all the blood is in their body, and then they're not dead, if that makes any sense.
I mean, from like a technical perspective, like they're not dead. You know, we'll take them off the machines, we'll put everything right back where it was, and they'll go around walking about in a couple of days' time. But for me, like, you know, the most basic components of being an alive human being walking around is that your heart is beating and your lungs are like expanding and contracting, you know? And it was so strange to see. I'd never seen someone in that position before. And I don't know, like, what else could we do to make this patient any less alive? Like, what could we take away from them that would make them even less alive?
Oh my gosh.
You know, it was a weird one.
Wow. That's, I always have moments like similar to that, where you actually deep something, and you deep being in the position where you're able to, like, where you are privileged enough to witness something. Like, and it happens, like, sometimes it just happens out of nowhere, and like, say when you're on placement or something like that, and you see something and you're like, wow, I've just witnessed one of the biggest moments that will ever happen in someone's life. And then I think to myself, I'm like, wait, when I'm a doctor, I'm going to have to do that every single day, and how am I going to not deep that every single time? And I think, and that's the thing, when you see doctors and you're like, how do you not read? Like, it just gets to a point where they're so desensitized that it's not cool anymore. But for us, it's still like really, really, really cool.
Absolutely. I mean, my jaw was open the whole time. Really, I was watching in absolute amazement. I couldn't believe what was going on. And it's what you said. Like, I felt so privileged to be there. You know, I was standing right next to the surgeons, like seeing the same things they were doing, and it's just we get really incredible opportunities as medical students, you know?
Yeah.
And especially because we don't carry any of the responsibility associated with what it is that we're seeing. I was talking to a doctor on placement the other day about how they remain calm when seeing an acutely unwell patient. So I'm currently in my A&E block, and I've seen a couple of patients where I'm just like, oh my God, this person is in severe pain. They're really not well. What do we do, right? And even if I've read about what you should be doing in this scenario, and I've like run through it in simulations and things like that, when it's actually happening in front of me, I blank a little bit sometimes, and it's just it's like, yeah, how do you gain enough experience and enough confidence to not only remain calm but also do all the correct steps, and, you know, eventually help treat this patient, or in some cases save their life, or, you know, drastically change their prognosis or anything like that. It's a bit of a mad one. That's going to be us in not a lot of time at all.
Yeah, I think it's this whole thing of, obviously it's taking away that human instinct, because in that situation, your human instinct of, you know, getting panicked and, you know, that fight or flight instinct isn't going to help anyone. And that's what's so interesting about being a doctor, is on one hand that you have to be so caring and so empathic, but then in other situations you have to completely separate yourself so that you can, like, get the best result for that patient, and just cut yourself off emotionally and think, like, rationally. And it's an incredible skill to have.
Definitely. Faye, last thing I want to ask you for this podcast is partially a selfish question, because I'm asking for myself, but also for anyone listening. You know, now, but because of coronavirus and how much time we're spending at home, how many things are online, this and that, I'm finding it more than ever difficult to sit down and listen to a lecture and pay full attention, take notes, get really involved, and everything like that. So I wanted to ask you, like, are you struggling with that as well? And if not, like, what things are you doing to sort of make it easier for you to study at home, to learn at home? Any words of advice, anything you can share?
Yeah, I was worried you were going to ask me for advice on that, because that is something I've also been very struggling with. I've always been a lecture person, like myself and like my flatmate. Every single week, I don't think there's been many mornings that we haven't missed, and we have like 9 a.m.s every single day. we were always there throughout the whole of first year and second year until COVID hit. This is going to be a very controversial opinion.
Okay.
This year I've completely given up with lectures. And I know that will, I know that some people will really disagree with that. I remember one of the Journey to Med girls said that in their first year of medicine, I don't know if they did this in your medical school, where they kind of scaremonger you a little bit about the GMC. And they said that if something happened to one of your patients, and then they didn't say this at my medical school, but apparently they said it at theirs. If something happened to your patient and they looked back at your attendance and you didn't attend that lecture, then they could come get you. And that is like, that's a very scary thing. Do I really think they do that? No, but I think what I'm trying to say is so that's why I think it'll be controversial, because inevitably someone's going to say, what if you missed a lecture that covered that thing and you saw a patient and you couldn't deal with it? When I say I've given up with lectures, I haven't given up with learning. I'm just saying that I think when I see the topic, I go, right, I'm going to learn that completely independently, because when I'm sitting down and I'm watching a lecture on Zoom, my mind goes elsewhere. Within 5 minutes, I'm gone. Whereas if I'm sitting there and I'm actively trying to learn it myself and teach it to myself, I'm far more engaged, and I'm far more likely to use that time better to learn about that condition in a way that actually sticks in my mind. And I think the beauty of, nowadays, we have everything that you get from lectures is available somewhere online or in some book. Bit of a controversial one. Probably not what you wanted to hear, but it's so hard.
I'm honestly exactly the same. I literally can't pay attention at all when I watch lectures at home on this desk. And first year and second year, I didn't attend a single lecture at university. Literally not one. Both years I attended. Well, first year I attended at the beginning to meet people, to interact with them, to get the social aspect of medical school in as well. And then second year, I think I attended the first 2-3 lectures, and then I didn't attend at all. For me personally, watching the lectures online at 1.5 to 2 times speed and being able to pause whenever I wanted to look up external resources whenever I wanted was infinitely more useful for me. Whereas sitting in a lecture, I just couldn't focus in real time and sort of absorb the information in real time well enough that it was good learning for me. And so, I don't think it's controversial at all. Like, if lectures don't work for somebody, then just don't do the lectures. If you think that you're going to learn better by reading a textbook back to front, you'll probably get more information than the lectures anyway. And if like, it goes back to what we were saying before, everybody learns in different ways. And I think everyone being forced to attend lecture and learn things via in-person live learning is not really the right way to go. And it's what you said, we're not giving up on learning. We're still learning the same things, and we're still doing the same things, just in a different way. And what I'm somebody who really separates his working environment from his relaxing environment, from his whatever environment. And now the fact that this desk has become where I study, where I edit, and where I relax and watch my YouTube videos has kind of really screwed that up for me. And that's part of why it's been so difficult, honestly, to sit down here and focus on a lecture, because this is where I sit down to chill. This is where I sit down to have fun. And the blending of those environments has been difficult. It really has. I miss libraries. It's weird to say, but like, I miss going to a library. Yeah.
Are your libraries not open then?
They are open. We need to book slots in advance, and there's like all this faff around it. It's honestly, it's not that bad. But the thing is, now we're trying to travel as little as possible. We're trying to be in these closed spaces as little as possible. And just like a balance of everything, I'm like, I feel like it's not worth going to a library continuously at the moment. But I did go last weekend to get a specific piece of work done, because like I said, like I cannot do it sitting at this desk. I need a library to get that push. And I will go back to the library next week for another specific piece of work. And yeah, it's been tough. I mean, it's like, when I was asking for advice, it's good to hear that you're going through some of the same things as well. Because, I'm sure a lot of other people are feeling this way too.
I would also, when you said about playing things on like 2 times speed, that has been one of the biggest perks of COVID, is being able to do, because I'm the same, like, when you're so used to watching, say, YouTube videos on like 2 times speed, or like osmosis videos on 2 times speed, when the lecturer is like talking at normal speed, you're like, where's the button? But then obviously with everything being online, it's like a lot easier to, you can get things done a lot more efficiently.
For sure. I mean, if I take a general like professor giving a lecture and I put it at 2 times speed, it sounds like normal speech, right? So it's as if it's playing at 0.5 speed to begin with. And honestly, like when I'm listening to a lecture in person and there's like a gap or a tangent or technical difficulties or something like that, I'm genuinely sitting there and my blood is boiling because I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, and that's why like I love listening to them at home, and I love playing them at 2 times speed. I can skip through all of that very easily. I can focus on exactly what I need, exactly what I think is most important, and take my time with it and actually absorb that information. So yeah, mini rant there, but all right, Faye. All right, I think we'll call it here. Thank you so much for coming on. This has really been a fun chat, and it's been good getting to know you as well. Yeah, I want to meet everyone. I want to talk to everybody.
I know. This is what's really sad, is it's like all these people that I've got to communicate with, and it's like, it's all online.
Yeah. Hopefully soon in person. I mean, I've said that more times than I can count recently, but yeah, the risk of being a broken record. Hopefully we'll be able to see each other in person soon. Go out and have some fun. All right. Thanks so much, Faye.
Thank you.
I'll catch you soon.